Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited because I have David Gerrard from Junk Spirit Games. Say hello, David.
Hey, what's up?
And hey, how's it going? And if you aren't familiar with David, or you are, his first game was Junk King, and then By Order of the Queen, and now Tyler Sigman's Crows, which is live on Kickstarter. So do check that out. And we're actually going to be talking about that campaign in particular because it's super
Yeah,
interesting to me. Um, and and he's essentially the founder and designer from Junk Spirit Games, right?
right.
Awesome. Well, and all three of those games were Kickstarters, right? You've done three Kickstarters, and you're a small indie publisher. Have any, and they've hit retail as well, right?
Yeah. This is our fourth Kickstarter, our third game. I did a Kickstarter for Justin as well, just as a way to kind of work within the art sphere as well.
Okay.
Big part of what we do. And so yeah, our first two games were Kickstarted. Really, I mean, I'm sure you understand as well. There's really no way I can do it without getting the backers to be able
Oh, sure.
to make it, work with all of us. So it's just obviously incredibly grateful for everybody backing and kind of trusting in the team to make it happen. But I don't have $20,000+ sitting around to make it happen for myself. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and your games, and it's Justin Hillgrove, right? That's his
yeah,
name.
yeah. Justin Hillgrove's the artist. Yeah,
Yeah, always have a killer look, and they're imaginative, and they have really interesting designs and nice blend of existing mechanics and new mechanics and all of that good stuff. So,
yeah,
Kickstarter is a great platform for things that don't feel like everything else, which I think is true from your games, all of which
totally,
I've played.
totally.
So to jump in before I really want to talk about that Crows campaign and how long it is, but before that, um, can you just take us through how you got into being a Kickstarter creator? Like, what's your story, your origin? How did you dive in?
Oh, right. I think the core of it is, of course, I'm a huge gamer. So as Kickstarter kind of started, I remember maybe 6 years ago, somebody was telling me this. There's this website where you can go and people put up their really cool ideas, and and then they have to prove to the potential people out there that want to pledge that they weren't even called backers when I was explaining this. They could Uh, pledge on it, and if they hit a certain amount of money, then they're going to make that product, and then they're going to be able to get there. I thought it was such a great thing. And then as soon as Cool Mini or Not started dropping their games on there, and Zombicide dropped, and everybody was like, "Oh, this could be a way for game companies to get their games out there, and then and also give the backers extra content, get them kind of involved in the whole process." And I thought, what a great way to do it. I was probably about 40 games backed. When I back games, I don't back it like a dollar. I back like I actually get the product,
Sure.
right? Yeah, and so I was about 40 games in when my wife kind of challenged me and said, "What would happen?" Because I've got two daughters. What would happen if their dad pointing to my girls, if their dad started making games. And, I work at a marketing company that works in the healthcare sphere. It doesn't always directly transfer over, but I got a good feel for my fellow gamers and what they kind of want. And as a father, I just thought there's a big hole in the world of board gaming that I could possibly fill or hope to, help fill, I suppose. So that's kind of why I'm here, and it's based on the reception we've been getting. I think that my gamble was correct.
And so, how did you end up hooking up with Justin? Because Justin's clearly been such a big part of what you've been doing.
No, absolutely, yeah. Justin's been doing art for 13 years, and professionally, and he's kind of a friend of a friend. I would see him maybe once or twice, maybe a year at certain parties, and you see him at a Halloween party or something. And so I just kind of know of him. We did go to high school together, but we were not buddies during high school. We went to a fairly large high school. So when I had this idea for Junking, which was our first game, it was actually a mining game. And I brought it to him, and I said, hey, this is a really cool game that I kind of made up. It's, you do these cards, and you're looking for this one diamond, and it would be really kind of fun. And he said, well, hey, let me show you what I'm working on. And he was working on this comic book that featured these characters. And so I was able to kind of pivot the mechanics of the game in this really cool way to make it so that it fit the world, and it added probably a good 60% of awesome new content and kind of to the fun value of the game, and it was really just a really good match. And Justin's a really easygoing guy. I'm a pretty easygoing guy too, so the two of us get together and work together really well.
Yeah, and the games have a really nice marriage in terms of the mechanics and the art, but also the humor and the writing, I think. And you do the writing, right?
Yeah, I did all the writing. Yeah.
Yeah. So both and By Order of the Queen has a ton of writing,
Yes, absolutely,
but
absolutely.
even in you see it in Junking as well. Though Crows is pretty abstract and not as not quite. It's a little bit of a shift from
Yep.
Order of the Queen, but still
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of
In fact, I
fun.
always tell people when people ask me if I'm going to be making more games, once we made Junking, people ask, "Are you going to make another game just like Junking? Are you going to do an expansion?" And I said, "No. This team, we're going to flex. We're going to kind of show off what we can do. And every one of the games we make, probably our first 6 or 8 games, every one will be very different than the one before it. And the reason why is not only are we flexing and we're showing off what we can do, but we want to be able to be in a spot where when we're at a convention, when we're talking to distributors or whatever, that they just can't deny us, right? They'll
Sure.
come up to the booth and they'll be like, "Hey, this is the kind of game I'm interested in," or whatever, and then we'll say, "Well, we got that game for you." So the one thing that will kind of go between all of them is the family-friendly nature, and as you said, kind of the good writing and the high art. It's definitely a big punch of what we're trying to do. But the mechanics themselves and the way they'll play very different. And Tyler Sigman's Crows, it fits so well. I don't know that I could make a good abstract game. When I saw this game, it seemed like a really slam dunk for us and really fits in our library.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So I just did a video with James Hudson, who was doing Guardian's Call. I
Yep.
just finished
Watched it. It was
Sunset
good.
Over. Thanks. Finished
Yeah.
Sunset Over
Absolutely.
Water,
Yep.
and we've been moving towards shorter campaigns, and it's not uncommon for Kickstarter creators after they've done their first campaign, which is usually around 4 weeks, to sort of walk down and walk to 3 weeks, and then maybe go crazy like we did and try even go 2 weeks, right? But
Right.
certainly there is that tendency to shorten it up a little bit as you move along. One of the things that has happened with all of your campaigns, they've been that full 4 weeks, 32, 33 days.
Right.
Um, and that was true for the first game, the second game, and now Crows. I mean, so much so that Sunset Over Water launched and completed within the
Yeah.
window of where Crows
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
I
it's
totally agree.
it's a very different approach. And I want. So can you? How did you come to that conclusion? Why do you still stay with the long campaigns?
Right. Yeah. I think that there's many different small reasons. I'm the kind of guy who, when I win games, or if I'm playing a game and I'm winning, it's usually because I'm taking small, like 2% advantage and 1% advantage and 3% advantage, and all of a sudden at the end of the game, oh hey, I've won, right? And so the one of the small reasons that we go for a larger campaign is. The standard is to go 30 days, right? So we usually do our last 2 campaigns have been 32 and 33 or something like that. And so the reason why is just because of the way the calendar works, right? So when you're going over 30 days, some months you're going 31 and some you're not. And then I want to go from a Monday or a Tuesday. I think we've done Mondays to Thursdays or Mondays to Fridays or something like that. Now, the reason why I do that is back in the day, I used to do a lot of eBay selling. I probably had 30,000 transactions through eBay. I used to run a board game store, and we would sell all of our extra product through there, and along with all the Magic Gathering singles and whatnot. This is back before
Sure.
MTGsingles.com and all that jazz. This is back when eBay was like, oh, there's this thing you can do online where you can sell your products, and so yeah, so Fridays and Saturdays were the days that if your item closed on those days, you got more money. You just got more eyes. I don't know what it was, but it just happened that way. We had Junking close on a Friday, and Friday afternoon is just kind of like, well, after work, I guess I would say, is kind of a great way to kind of get together with your community and kind of have this weird kind of Friday night party type vibe happening. And so a lot of what we do is very community based. We listen to the community, very fervently, and we want to make sure to incorporate any types of ideas that they have, and just kind of also listen to them and answer their questions really. And on Friday night, it's just when they're the most chatty, I guess I would say. We seem to see more of the community being chattier on the end of the week. Now, whether or not they back more during the week is a totally different story, right?
Right.
obviously you see more backings, we see more money coming in, and people, pledging on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So so you kind of want to get the whole cycle in, right? You get this weird cycle where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday people are backing, Thursday, Friday, Saturday people are talking. And so
right. Well, and but just to interrupt for a second. So I get actually, it's a really interesting approach in terms of trying to end your campaign when the energy and the ability for people being around and to engage and to sort of be part of that moment is high, right? It's certainly much more easy to imagine people joining the community, joining the conversation, watching it tick down on a Friday than on a Monday when they've got kids and things going on and they're happy for you, but they're going to just write the congrats and walk away. That speaks to that day of the week, ending on that day of the week. But you could end on a Friday on a 3-week campaign just as much as you could end it on a 4-week campaign, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for me, I think the reason why we go for a longer campaign where we decide to keep doing the same full 30 days, we're not in a rush to need the money. For one, I'm not saying that anybody that runs a short campaign does, but it always kind of seems a little weird to me in that way. I'm not, and I know that you don't. So to me, I feel like you're getting 4 cycles in of people pledging heavily and then people chatting heavily, and that seems to be the right amount. And although, kind of when I mentioned at the beginning of the sentence is maybe only 2% of what I'm really thinking, I think it's more important for me and our team to kind of connect with people on that level kind of 4 times over, right? So we kind of see that. We kind of see the conversations happening that way. And also you can essentially get 4 rounds of advertising through Facebook and Twitter and through websites and whatnot. And obviously Board Game Geek, and you can do all these posts and people pay attention to them more. And so it's just kind of giving us the ability to do that 4 times over, along with the fact that our team, we all have jobs and have normal jobs that really actually pay the bills. And this is a way for us to stretch out the amount of work that we need to do to be able to maintain the page, as we hit stretch goals and as we hit, as we want to show off the rule book. And so we want to get the feedback from that and then incorporate that feedback into the, into a final version of the rule book before the end of the campaign. And all that work just takes time for us. And with, I just feel like, the 30 days gives us the ability to do that.
Yeah, well, you went over a couple interesting points as you were talking there, one of which is this idea of the sort of rolling cycles. That's actually something that I noticed with the shorter campaign, that there really are these sort of weekly roll-ups and roundups and then people coming on board, and then there's the ones they do. And I could certainly see when some of those were coming together on the second Sunday, because I only had 2 Sundays, the second Sunday, that was going to be a quick turnaround for some people, and so I do think that's a key point, right? There really is a certain cadence and cycle to the feedback loops and to the articles, and some people do once a month, and some people do every week, and some people do certain days of the week. So the longer period, the more you are able to cover those time frames,
right?
And certainly, it gives you a lot of time to engage and work with your backers and talk with them and refine the product and do all those things. When it comes to, one of the other trends, if you will, but one of the things that's been very clear is there's been increased competition. There's more games. There's more people blitzing for attention.
Sure.
And certainly amongst most creators I've spoken with of short and long campaigns, from now to probably maybe when you did Junking back in the day.
Right, about 2 years ago, yeah. Back in the day, 2 years ago.
The level of people canceling and sort of walking away and moving to new things has been going up.
Right.
Is that something you see? Is it a concern to you? I mean, presumably you feel like you're growing, even if slowly, your campaign's growing each and every day.
Yeah. We don't sweat the cancellations at all. I mean, we've weirdly, in our short period of time being a company, we've done weird famous movies. We're becoming weirdly famous for telling people not to buy our game. We actually went to Gen Con and we had a bunch of people asking us about the game, about Bite of the Queen, which we actually got in hand for Gen Con. It was like basically being released there, and we had a number of people we told not to buy the game because we would ask them who they were, we would find out what kind of game they were looking for, and then they would look at Bite of the Queen, we would tell them what the kind of game it was, and then we would say, I don't think this is actually going to fit your game group. So if someone cancels, I feel like they've done more research, maybe, right? And they've figured out that maybe this is not the game for them. And that's okay. I don't want people to buy my game and just be like, sell. And then, 10, 20% of the customers out there have a bad time playing my games, right? I want them to be confident in their purchase, not have buyer's remorse, and then get the game in hand and be like, yes, this is the game I wanted. And then, be confident in a future purchase from us and, in the future. And so as people cancel, hey, I don't sweat it. I occasionally I do send people messages through Kickstarter as they back. I know that a lot of creators, they don't, they'll message people as they cancel, and they'll say, hey, is there anything, that you need to know? There's a reason why you canceled. And, most of the reasons is that they, like kind of as what you said, which led to this whole thing, is that, they say, well, there's another game that I wanted to back. And, that's fine. There's games out there I back too, right? Seventh Continent is going on at the same time I'm going on right now. It's obviously exploding. I backed that day one, right? And that's just the way it is. There's, at any given time, I probably have $200 to $300 on Kickstarter just waiting to be charged. Sure. And that's what you do as a gamer. And so if we have gamers that are, they only back like one thing a month, or they only back, one thing a year, I don't know, like really low, not collectors, right? Like people that are into gaming, but they own like 10 games and they're just really into them. Then, hey, we want to be your 11th game. But if you have a different 11th game out there, then yeah, that's valid, right?
Sure. Yeah, totally. And things happen to people. And so,
totally.
And so then, I mean, why not 6 weeks? Like, what's stopping you from making it longer?
Oh, right. Yeah. And I think that when you get to that, I've seen those kind of campaigns. They seem to drag on forever. And I don't know why you would do that. 30 days, I think, is the right amount of time that people could see. Let me back up a little bit. It's very funny. I'm sure that you've seen this too. On our previous 3 campaigns, and I bet this one as well, like the week that it closes, it'll close, and then like within the next week after that, you'll get like 10 requests, people saying that they missed the campaign. And I'm thinking, well, should we have stayed open for 40 days? Like, what's going on, right? And so people are going to miss it no matter what. People are going to in the whole scope of the time that you produce the game and you make the game and the game is available, the campaign itself is a very small period of time. So whether or not you do a 2-week campaign or you do a 4-week campaign is really not that important of a real, like, you have to really decide how much time that you need as a team to create the content so that you can convey the correct, honest truth about what's going on with your company and with your game to people. If you need 30 days to do it, then you should take 30 days, right? And our team just doesn't work as quick as some other teams that are out there. And I know that you especially, and I know that you're talking to James Hudson about it as well, that you and James Hudson are a lot more organized. Like I saw the list that you've created. I watch a lot of your videos.
Sure.
I see the list that you create. We create lists too, but there's like 4 times as many items because we aren't like 5 months out, we aren't like thinking about what needs to be done. We're really, I have a joke at this last Gen Con that we're at. People would buy a game from me and then they'd say, "Oh, do you have a bag?" And I'd say, "Oh, no, we don't have a bag." And this is how I prove to you that I'm an indie company, because we don't think that far ahead.
Right.
We just don't. We weren't thinking like, oh, and then when people buy the game, then they can take the bag that has like the Junk Spirit Games logo on the outside, and then they can walk around. We don't think like that. It's just, we're just not at that level. We're an indie company, and we're not thinking that far ahead. So we need 30 days to be able to make mistakes, and then also 4 days of the campaign goes by and it's like, oh, you know what, we should have mentioned this thing, and we should show a video of this. And so we just need that time. We need the time to be able to do it. So why not 60 days though? It's because we don't need that much time.
Well, I guess the next question I have there is around like creator fatigue, right? Like right. How, like, again, with Sunset Over Water, successful campaign, did well. Totally. Didn't do as much as Herbaceous, but it was a week shorter. And I'm pretty sure, looking at all of it, that it would have done in the additional 7 days, the additional 7,000, that would have been Herbaceous, and or even a little bit higher.
You would have 100% gotten higher. I was
Yeah,
thinking that when I saw it. I was
yeah.
like, that was an $80,000 campaign that, in my opinion, and no offense, I think that you cut it short. But I think, hey, you're
But
gonna make that money anyways because you got great distribution and people
well,
love you, so you're fine.
hold on a second. We're not going to get to compliment land.
Yeah,
But I looked at that and I had to stop. Like, which would I have chosen to add that on, knowing that? And my answer is no. Like, my answer is like that additional amount would not have been worth the additional week
sure.
of just campaign running and management and people where, because we blew through stretch goals. The amount allows us to make the game. It's great. I'm very thrilled to be getting it all to backers.
Yeah,
I I getting back on and holding that campaign for 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, right? It could have been an 80,000 4 weeks. It, to me, it just did not. I'm thinking. I feel like I could have had a better 2 week campaign. Like, I feel like I didn't
right,
maximize that 2 weeks enough, and
right. Like
still
you
in the
could punch
middle,
it
I
in better.
found I found myself like just sort of like checking my watch and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
Um, but so, but again, so when it comes to, so even having said that, just in terms of creator fatigue and all those things, like for me, again, I'm 2 weeks was a lot, and every time you do one of these, it's a drain, and it takes. Do you have any strategies, or is your more like, well, since my mentality is it's this long thing, it doesn't wear me out.
right. Yeah, no, it doesn't wear me out. I'm a very high energy person, anyways. Like borderline narcissistic, right? Because I'm just like, it's so great, and it's so fun, and it's great being me. No, but we only meet my team. We only meet 3 to 4 times a week, maybe, at about 2 to 2.5 hours each time. So if you think about it, that a normal what normally people would do in a whole day, we take a week to do, right?
Right.
And so that's essentially a week's worth of work is the campaign to us. It's as far as hours go, right? So it does draw on long, and the middle part is always like a little bit of a slog. But I feel like that's the best time to really engage your community and see what you have. During our Buyer of the Queen campaign, we had a lot of really engaged people, and we were able to change the names of some of the characters. We were that's where you can kind of get fun with it. We had during our Junk King campaign, we had a bunch of contests for people to write their own
Sure.
kind of like pun-tastic, terrible dad joke stuff that we would potentially add in on the flavor text. And it's not that we needed, that we were like asking our backers and our customers to write, to do our work for us. It was, we actually, held 6 aside on Junking to do the contest, and we held about 20 aside for Bite of the Queen for naming characters, and just as a way to just kind of like have people have a good time with it, and so that's what that middle campaign area is for. So I don't think that we get fatigued. I think that Justin, he kind of has a really good what do you call it? Like a really good dedication to his work. He's very organized, and he keeps he'll finish it. He'll finish a painting, and then within an hour he's starting the next. So he has a really good dedication, and I think that the team, it's me and a graphic designer, and then we have another artist now that we brought on for Bite of the Queen. So the 4 of us, we don't really get tired. We don't really get tired of the slog,
Cool.
so to speak.
So fair to say, campaign 4, whenever it is going to be
Totally.
30, 31, 32, 33 days, whatever it turns out to be. Campaign 5, campaign 6.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me think. I mean, I really think that we've covered off on the different pieces and areas I wanted to go into. Again, to me, it's sort of coming from having done a long campaign and having slowly worked towards shorter campaigns and figuring it all out. Myself, when I see an accomplished creator, which you are, right? You have 3 successful funded campaigns. Crows isn't quite
Sure.
done, but hey, that's not easy. It's not easy. To still say no, I'm going to keep it at 30 or 33 is really it. Now it's not like you don't know what you're doing. You're making a choice and a decision, as you've clearly explained over the course of the chat. And actually, so I think that was really the core part of my questions. One of the areas that I was sort of curious about. So there was this initial interaction where you had this game idea. You met up with Justin. Justin was like, I had this story idea, and then you
Right.
sort of collaborated and worked together.
Mhm.
When I look at, By Order of the Queen, and you could correct me, but that also feels of that nature. It feels like there's a lot of character development and story development, and
Yeah.
that was the sort of cooperative adventure game for your family, or however you guys,
Yep.
what your tagline is.
Yep.
But just to talk about Crows for a second, Tyler Sigman's Crows, presumably it's not your design, it's his design. It was a game you played or he showed. I don't know the backstory there,
Yeah.
but that seems more like, not that it's not collaborative, but more like a publisher project, right? Where it's a game you like,
Oh,
you have
yeah,
this
I
audit.
get where you're getting at.
And
Yeah.
can you talk, how has that been for you guys? Has it been cool
Yeah, it
or
was an
tough?
interesting thing, right? Yeah, we definitely, if you would have asked me, right at the beginning of this year, even if I was going to publish other people's games, I would have said no. But what happened was, I know Tyler Sigman. I'm a huge Darkest Dungeon fan. He is the guy who designed Darkest Dungeon, and I just happened to be, he invited some people over for some board gaming, and I was playing board games at his place, and we're having a great time. And he was talking about his first game, or not his first game, one of his published games called Crows. And he had a box of it there, and I said, "Oh, show me it. That's cool." And so we played it, and it was like, "Oh, that's neat. That's really cool. I like the little abstract, feel of it." And he was, of course, he's into crows as well. Like, he's got this huge thing. He's really into them, and it's funny, and he's great. And basically, he was then kind of lamenting a little bit that the game was no longer in production, and he would like to get it published again one day. And I think it probably took me about an hour to kind of think about that idea. Like, would I publish someone else's game? That's really weird. It's not something I was thinking about I would do. But while we were talking about the game, we both kind of had ideas and the ways to make the game a little bit better, just a little bit, right? Like maybe 5 to 10%, just like a little extra tweak to make the game a little bit more strategic, right? A little bit more fun. And I said to him, and also on top of that, like I'm big into art, I'm big into design and product quality, and the quality of the game that he had made was bad. It was terrible, and the art was terrible. And so he didn't do it, right? He basically sold it. He's getting royalties from the company. That he sold the game design to them. They ran with it. They put the art on it. They did the graphic design and all that.
Yeah,
jazz.
that's how it normally goes for lots of people.
Right, exactly. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And so I said to him, "Listen, I want to do this like in this really cool way. I would like to do this really cool. Like Justin has this. He had this period of time where he was doing pieces of art that were only black, white, and red, and he did a bunch of crow stuff during that time. And like I think if I showed this to Justin, he would really get into it, and he could make this really cool like set of art for the game. We could redo everything." And get better art, better higher quality everything, better design, and then I can add a bunch of gameplay elements to it. I can pass them past you, and you can tell me what you think. And so it still was a collaborative thing for me. I'm not just straight like grabbing his game and then going with it, right? My name exists on the box as like additional gameplay by Dave Gerrard. And so, and I've added maybe 10 to 20% of stuff. Plus, obviously, we reskinned the whole game as well to fit inside of the Tessendor universe, which is Bite of the Queen. And so it still was very collaborative, and I don't know that I would have done it without it. So would I like take someone's game and do nothing to it? I don't know that that's really what I want to do. I don't think that's really what I want to do. I think that and I think the reason why is not because of my preference, but when I meet a designer and they're telling me, hey, I've got this really cool game, and do you think that you could publish it? And by the way, I've been 100% have been asked that. I tell them, listen, why don't we instead talk about you making the game? Like, let's talk about you making it, because I'm just a dude, right? I'm just some dude who just like got on Kickstarter, made some stuff happen, and like I can tell you the things that I know, and maybe you can just be some dude that can be making your own games as well. And
I just have to agree with that.
That's because of you, by the way. That's because of you. Because when I was like, hey, I think I can make this game.
You're no longer talking in the third person. You're literally talking about me now.
Yes. And so you basically called me and you gave me a lot of really good feedback on the ways to make this kind of stuff happen and things to think about and people to follow and and all this jazz. And then you told me to pass it on. So I have passed it on like you don't even know, dude. It's crazy. I because I stop people when they say, hey, do you think you could publish my game? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you publish your game? Like, why don't you just do it? and no one's going to push your game better than you can.
Sure.
So, so in that way, I'm kind of a no against publishing other people's titles. But Tyler Sigman's Crows for me was a very collaborative project working with Tyler, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of you to say that. And actually, I'm happy to hear it. That was really my experience coming into games, was very much the support of the board game community,
Totally.
and it's sort of that's the value to pass on. I also have the same reaction when people come for me to publish games. I'm sort of like, why do you want me to I don't bring all that much to the table outside of you.
You don't work with me. I'm a loser. Yeah.
It's basically like go find a publisher.
Yep.
And actually, I had because I'm all for collaborating. I work with lots of designers and people. I don't have to be the designer on the game, and it's similar to you where I'm doing additional design or things like that. A lot of product design.
Sure.
And I had sort of generally it's always from a brief, right? I have an idea of a game I want or how it's going to feel or some sort of thing, and it's sort of like, hey guys, we're going to do this thing. Is that interesting to you? Do you want to come on as the designers? Because this is the kind of experience I'm looking for, and I think you guys would be a great fit. I've sort of officially have the first design submitted one next year, and it was sort of that same situation where it was like, hey, do you want to want to publish this game? And I was like, what? Go talk to other publishers. Sometimes what I'll say to people is like, go talk to everyone else, and if everyone else says no, we can talk about it again.
Yeah. I have a couple of those deals rolling too.
But no, and he was like, no, I really think that you'd like it and you'd get a kick out of it, and I was like, sure, let's play. And I played it, and I was like, this game's too heavy. In this case, I don't think this works. I love what you're doing, but would you be willing to adjust it? Like, hey, instead of having me have a hand of 5, could I just have a hand of 2? And would you, are you willing to make this a 30 to 45 minute game, not a 90-minute game?
Right.
And, he said, yeah, and we've been working on it and fun. So, I think, for me, it really comes down to, at the end of the day, I just love making games and products, and I want to work on with teams. So if somebody comes up with a nice idea for that, but I have that same reaction where it's like, what do you think I offer you other than maybe some Kickstarter expertise, right? Like, I can't print, 20,000 copies and get you into Target. I can't even get myself into Target.
Right.
So anyway, hey, we're at about 30 minutes. I do want to close with one thing. So you didn't send me a copy of Crows originally, which deeply offended me.
Yes.
Deeply offended me.
Yeah, dude. This is how I prove I'm an indie guy, man. I'm not that organized. I'm not that good.
Yeah. Well, and to your credit, because your campaign was so long, I could basically guilt trip you into sending me a copy of the game to play, the prototype, right? Because I was like, absolutely. Hey, man, there's still time. Like, why are you telling me you forgot when we're talking about it and there's 30 days left in the campaign?
Totally.
And I think it's possible that the review will drop before this or after. I don't know. I'm trying to get it through because it is now on the elder part of your campaign. But just to close, having played it now a couple times, dude, the game's great.
Yeah,
I really liked it. I really liked it. It's super cool. I don't know if you noticed, but I had done the perfunctory dollar back previously, but yesterday or the day before, I went in all the way to get a copy of it.
Yeah, totally. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, like I said, when I played it, and it was Tyler's, just the stripped, I wouldn't say stripped down, but the core game that it was such a slam dunk for us. I thought this is like a better version of Carcassonne, and just right in the right spot. And I feel like it's something that just needs to be out there. And I kind of felt bad when I found out that the company that originally had made it for him is no longer a thing. They're bankrupt, right? So I just thought, oh, that's terrible. This is the kind of game that needs to be out there, and I'm the guy who can kind of make sure that it's going to be out there. So it was definitely slam dunk for us.
Yeah, no, it's really fun and interesting, and I like the crow mechanic, the flocking and murder,
totally.
and how they spread on the board is super cool. So anyway, I haven't filmed it yet, though it may still happen before the video comes out. But at some point, I will put a review/preview together for the game. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on and talking about long campaigns. Again, I think kudos to you for having the stamina and energy and
Right.
everything it takes to do that and keep sticking to your approach, man. I mean, clearly you're making some great games. I'm looking for your pen and paper RPG at some point soon. That'll be exciting.
I know it. I know it. I've had it's gonna be a rough one. I've never done anything that large, and people like have told me I need to do it, and I don't know if I could do it. So it's something we're thinking about. I've got so many games we want to make, though. I've got the next 3 games I'm working on like simultaneously right now.
Yeah, you just
And so,
1 page a week, man. Just write a page a week.
Yeah.
Tap it in.
Yeah.
Anyway, but thanks for being on, and certainly everyone, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Most importantly, play some great games. Bye.
Awesome.